Hey there, Squirrel Army. We're doing the precon upgrades for the new starter commander decks. And this one's for Token Triumph. This one is with Emeria, Soul of the Accord for our face commander. And yeah, it's quite an interesting list. I haven't looked through every single thing. So we've got the other Tristani in here. That's a pretty interesting choice as well. I don't know. I like Marja. Marja seems like a really good commander. But again, it's up to you guys to decide what you actually want to play as the commander, because there are a couple options here. But yeah, I want to do a cool Celestia tokens deck. This seems like a good place to do it. There's certainly some cards that we can swap in and swap out, and so I'm going to do that. I'm going to take this list away and then come back and show you guys what I did with this list, and I hope you guys will enjoy the little show I've got here for you. If you're enjoying the content here, you can join the Squirrel Army by subscribing. Alright guys, we are back after having some work done on this deck, and we have reached 100 cards, and we have reached an amount of money. Well, that's pretty penny, but I still think that this is the second most expensive deck. Do try to keep them within a certain budget to a degree, but at a certain point we've got to put in some cards because, well, we need cards. So it is tough. But anyway, I'll be going through what we've done and what we've changed and whatnot. But if you just want to see what the list entails, it will be in the comments. It'll be as a pinned comment there somewhere. So yeah, if you don't want to see me waffle along with what I've done here, you can just check out the deck list, what I suggest for this list, and copy and paste essentially. Yeah, I think a lot of people who are much more aware of how decks work and decks function won't really do it this way, but some people will because, hey, they just go, well, I'll just copy this list, and it's a decent base to start with, or it's a decent base of, okay, this is what I want to proxy and what I want to look at and where I want to go and whatnot. But if you're here for the actual discussion, I will go through it. I will only spend a few moments just talking about the lands because, well, I have to, but, you know, it's one of those things. All the lands that I took out are bad tapped lands. You don't need them. You can just get by with running the basics and whatnot. Maybe there's a few too many, too few lands in here, but it's fine for now, I think. So I think we'll be all right. I think it actually had a few too many when I sort of started fiddling with it. I didn't even change anything. I didn't even add anything beyond taking whatever was in there out. But yeah, I'm not going to spend time talking about bad tap lands. Otherwise, let's get into what I took out to talk about what I put in. Ajani, like, what's this guy doing in here? The only good thing that he really does is his ultimate. He has 3 mana, which isn't too bad, so he isn't a huge investment. But I just don't think he does enough. So, yeah, and he just dies so quickly and so easily. If we have a board state that can protect him, then we'll have a board state that's usually pretty decent. So we don't just need this guy. So I just don't see the point in him. Mana Rocks, we don't really need any of these Mana Rocks. So I just took them out. The only good thing that we could do with some of the Mana Rocks is destroy them with some of our own artifact and enchantment destroying effects to make tokens or whatever. But I don't think that's relevant enough. Aura Mutation, I took it out because it only destroys an enchantment. So I just felt like we want the flexibility to be able to hit any permanent or any artifact or enchantment at least. So I just thought that we don't really need this. We do need to kill artifacts, so yeah, it's very relevant. So anyway, Avis's Pilgrim, this isn't a bad card. I think it's probably one of the latest cards that I probably cut, but I needed to make room, and I just felt like a Mana Dork isn't really going to do much for us. There's a lot of the tap and untap mana dorks and whatnot. Some of the other mana dorks that do a whole lot more. I don't like mana dorks that are just mana dorks. Like, if you're playing for power or if you're playing for speed, yeah, sure, it's a lot better, but just the way that I wanted to look through this deck and build up this deck, I just didn't think it was that relevant for what we were trying to do. A lot of other stuff did more. So, citywide bust destroys all stuff with 4 or greater toughness. That's fine, but like, we do have some stuff that gets 4 or greater toughness, like, so not that terrible, but still, we would rather not kill most of our stuff. Even Hour of Reckoning, I will just say this, does kill some of our stuff, because not all of our stuff is tokens, though most of our stuff sometimes is tokens. But yeah, like, I think we're fine for Wraths. I don't think we need to Wrath too much. We are a token deck, we are an aggro deck, so I just don't know whether we need it. So I just took it out because we needed to make room. Blessing, it's not bad, but it's only +3/+3, and it's 6 mana. So there's a lot of things we could be doing at 6 mana that are pretty darn powerful, and this just was too weak, I felt. Unconsciousness, there's the other spell that basically does the same thing and also does something else. That would be better than this. And it was even in the last deck, I think, the Dragons deck. So I don't know why they couldn't have put it in this deck as well, but whatever. But still, just, I don't like these one-off card draw effects. We want more. We want to be able to draw cards throughout the entire game, not just for one turn, just to refill or whatever. So yeah, I just don't see the point in those sorts of spells. Insignia, the thing about this is, I keep saying this, that the idea here isn't that we want our commander to die per se, but the fact that it helps us when our commanders died, or only helps us when our commanders died, is pretty much the thing. So we kind of want our commander to die in that regard for this. But if we don't have this, then it's kind of like, well, you know, whatever. It's just too hit and miss, I think. It's just like, So yeah. Not going to talk about mana rocks. We don't need mana rocks. We're in green. We don't need them. Tribunal, just bad sorcery speed removal. Yeah, tapping stuff, whatever. We can tap our summoning sick tokens. Whatever. We make somebody use their removal on this random enchantment to get their thing back. Whatever. Like, all of that is very meh to me. I don't think it's worth our time. We can just run other better removal. The bounty, this isn't too bad, though it helps our opponents out as well. Though I don't know how relevant that super duper is, but again, giving our opponents pseudo-vigilance isn't good. We kind of want our opponents to be tapped out so that we can get in there with a lot of our tokens. So I just felt like we can run something that gives us vigilance and a buff, and that'll be better. So just took it out. The light, not bad for convoking it, certainly, but it's only to exile attacking or blocking creature. So that restriction is just way too much for us to even consider it. Helioid, I think it's too much mana just for the flash and +2/+2. So I don't think we're going to get anyone per se with this thing, like being 5 mana and flash just to give +2/+2. Maybe, but not really. Like, and it's all, well, it is only creatures we control, but still, what else? Oak Guardian, it's only when it enters it again, it has flash, but again, I don't think we're going to get anyone per se with a 6 mana flash spell to give our stuff +2/+2 for one turn. No, don't think it's worth our time. Harmonize, just don't like these one-off card draw effects. Druid, again, kind of bottom of the barrel, didn't really do enough like a lot of the other stuff does. Yeah, it adds 2 mana eventually, but that's not what we need. We can add more mana with more things and whatnot, so we don't really need this. March of Multitudes makes a whole bunch of soldiers, has Convoke, that's okay, but still, I don't love it, and it's, again, these one-off effects don't really do enough, I don't think, so just take it out. The Expedition, nice that it has Convoke again, but just a bit too much mana, I think, for the effect. Even so, even if we are getting that discount with tapping creatures in a way, but we're not really. So yeah, just no. Overrun, not bad at all, but again, I don't like this one-off here effect. I want to get this, every other turn or whatever, or at least once per turn, so that we can really do stuff, or just a permanent buff. Rex Sage, honestly not bad, but we can just get better artifact and enchantment removal. That's also an instant, so I don't think we really need this. There's not many decks that actually need this. Reborn for defenses, we populate and our creatures gain indestructible until end of turn. That's okay, but, like, again, I don't like these I'm going to protect my stuff cards. They never work out, I don't think. At least that's my experience with them. If you have better experience with them, then for sure you can keep it in, but I just never love these because they never love me back. Scatter the Seas, Convoke is okay, but it's a one-off. So just no. The book of Ancestry here, discard our hand? Why are we discarding our hand to draw cards equal to each creature for each creature we control? We might have, unless we've got 0 cards in hand, I don't know, that could be a thing, but for 8 mana, just no. No. Reclamation honestly isn't too bad, but it's just too much mana, I find. It's way too much mana, and the upside of it being able to cycle isn't nearly relevant enough. So, just no. Unity, we don't need. Artifacts, we're in green. And the Verdant Force, just too much mana for too little of an effect here, I think. Only really does anything as we passed, and at 8 mana, we want something that says we win the game. We don't want this. So, yeah, whatever. So let's go through some of the stuff I added. Farseek, 3 visits, Nature's Law. Just good 2 mana ramp spells. I should have probably added some more 2 mana ramp spells, but I think we were running a bit short. Let's look at instance. Added Generous Gift, and I swapped in a Sundering Growth. We destroy an artifact or enchantment and populate. If we don't get the populate off, that's still okay, because 2 mana to destroy an artifact or enchantment is still a fairly decent rate, so we don't really care. So that's fine, and Generous Gift's just anything. I think we could have put in Beast Within as well, but I didn't think we quite had the room. Helm of the Host just equips it to anything. It is a 9 mana, but it is well worth it when we get it onto something. We start copying it and copying it and copying it, getting more and more and more tokens, so it can get really out of hand pretty quickly. Bestiary, beginning of upkeep, scry 1. When we cast a creature, we can pay green to draw a card, so pretty decent. Oketra's Monument, white spells cost 1 less to cast, and when we cast a creature spell, we create a 1/1 white warrior creature token with vigilance. That's pretty darn useful. Cathar's Crusade buffs all of our stuff by +1/+1 counters for whenever we put a creature into play. So we want to buff up our small tokens and whatnot so that they're actually threatening things. That will make them into threatening things. The Visitation, again, we might make our things into actually threatening things that can kill people. So whenever we make a token, we actually make a 4/4 Angel instead. So that's pretty darn good. Elemental Bond, 3 or greater power or whatever creature enters, we draw a card. Nice little card draw. Garrick's Uprising, creature 4 or more, enters, we draw a card. Or when it enters, we also draw a card if we have 4 or more, and creatures have trample. Trample isn't too amazing in this deck because we do have a whole bunch of smaller stuff, but we can make our stuff bigger. And some of our bigger stuff doesn't have trample, so it is worth to give stuff trample. So, Inspiring Leader gives our tokens +2/+2. That's pretty good, as long as we've got a commander, but whatever. Virtue gives our tokens +1/+1, and Vigilance, that's real good. Legion Loyalty, this is insane. Usually wins us the game when we play it or when we go to combat with it. All creatures have Myriad, so if we have enough to kill one person, we have enough to kill all of our opponents, because we basically attack all of our opponents at the same time with all of our creatures. We make a token copy for each creature we have, so that's really powerful. Yeah, sure, when we don't have anything, it's terrible, but you can't play around that. Like, you've got to play around when it's good. So yeah, that was it for the enchantments there. So let's move on to creatures. Adeline makes a 1/1 human whenever we attack. Its power is equal to the number of creatures we control. Also has vigilance. So, you know, like, it makes those 1/1s for each opponent. That's pretty good, that we're attacking. So that's, you know, really useful. Can pump out a lot of those tokens really quickly. Beanie, the Convoke on this isn't that important, but it's useful. At the beginning of each end step, if you created a token this turn, we draw a card. Like, we're not going to create that many tokens on opponents' turns a lot of the time, but when we do, it will draw us a card here and there, so that's still useful. The Caller of the Small here, Cardia, or whatever her name is, when she hits someone, we make a rabbit for each token we have. So we make a whole bunch of rabbits and whatnot. Hopefully, it's getting her through. That's the problem. She's only a 3/3. She has trample for some unbeknownst reason, which is really weird, but whatever. Okay, she should have menace, honestly, but whatever, it's fine. Gallia Greeters. When a creature enters the battlefield, we get to choose one. We make a treasure. We gain 2 life, or we put a counter on it. Like, any of these modes are okay. The best one, obviously, is to make a treasure. So we get more things and whatnot, and can keep going and whatnot. Got Eternal Oketra. Whenever we cast a creature, we make a 4/4 zombie creature token with vigilance. If it dies, we put it third from the top in our library, so that's pretty good. So it keeps coming back and keep coming back. Greensleeves is amazing. Its power and toughness are equal to the number of lands we control. That's okay. Whenever we play a land, we get a badger. So it's not like this is a landfall deck, but still, we do have lands, and we do get lands in this deck, so it's not terrible. And 3/3 badges are pretty darn powerful, and it's pretty darn strong, just on the face of it, so it's fine. And it has protection for planeswalkers and wizards for some reason, but that's still pretty good. Muriel, the Shield of Argyle. No one can cast stuff during our turn or activate abilities of artifacts or creatures or enchantments, so that's really powerful. She's a bit expensive, but in terms of dollars at least, but she's really good. Whenever she attacks, we create X 1/1 soldier creature artifact creature tokens, where X is the number of soldiers we control. We do have some stuff that makes soldiers, but still, like, we don't really mind. Like, she's here to help protect our stuff from being countered, essentially, so that's real useful. Queen Anel. She's real cool. Power and toughness equal to the number of creatures we control. If one or more tokens will be created under our control, those tokens plus an additional 1/1 white soldier creature token are created instead. So we get 1 additional token, but that's okay. So it still helps us make additional tokens, so we can have other things that help this out and whatnot, and still really useful. Reese makes a whole bunch of tokens for us. We can pay 3 to create a token, or we can create a token copy of each token that we control. So that's real powerful for 6 mana there. So yeah, we will want that in here. Rumor Gatherer, when another creature enters the battlefield, scry 1. If it's the second time, we draw a card. So that's pretty nice. We get that pretty quickly. And that's so real useful. Sakura Tribe Elder just for more ramp. Scoot Swarm. Everyone knows what Scoot Swarm does. If we have 6 or more lands, we get a Scoot token instead of getting just a regular insect. That's where we want to be. We want to be getting those Scoot tokens, so we just keep doubling up our Scoots, going crazy, going mad, making millions and billions of Scoots. Tender Shoot Dryad. Beginning of each upkeep, we create a 1/1 sapling creature token. Once we have City's Blessing, the saplings get +2/+2. So really useful. Titania. Playing Forest from our graveyard, that's nice. Whenever Forest enters the battlefield under our control, we create a 5/3 elemental creature token. And whenever an elemental creature dies, we we may mill 3 cards. We're not going to mill 3 cards most of the time. Maybe we'll want to here and there, but most of the time we won't. But it's pretty powerful. It's a big 6/6, and it lets us play lands from the graveyard. So doesn't 100% do everything we want, but it's pretty nice. Taurens, whenever we cast a creature, we create a 1/1 green and white human with training. So yeah, those can get buffed pretty quickly with some of the stuff that we have, which again is very useful. We need to get through damage, so we need to buff our stuff. Tristani, we gain life equal to a creature's toughness when it enters, and then we can pay 3 tap, it populates. So yeah, we can keep making tokens from it as long as we've got tokens to make. And yeah, that's pretty much it for this list. So as always, you guys can let me know what you think. There are some cards in here that I left in here that I'm a little bit about, because I just couldn't really figure out enough things to cut for them or to replace them with, essentially. But whatever, it is what it is. But yeah, hope to see you again in the next one.